The Last Stand. The UES Defiant hung motionless against the backdrop of stars, its battle-scarred hull reflecting the dim light of a distant sun. On the bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, dark eyes fixed on the tactical display where 12 red dots marked the approach of the Nexer battle fleet. Each of those dots represented a warship that could reduce her vessel to atoms in seconds. "They're broadcasting again, Captain," Lieutenant Rivera announced from his communication station, his voice tight with tension. "Same message as before." Chen nodded, her expression unchanging. "Let's hear it." The bridge speakers crackled to life, filling the air with the artificial smooth tones of the Nexer translation matrix. "Primitive vessel, your continued resistance is illogical. The Nexer Dominion claims this sector. Withdraw now or be eliminated. Your obsolete technology cannot hope to." "Mute," Chen ordered, and blessed silence returned. She allowed herself a small smile, knowing her crew needed to see it. They certainly loved to hear themselves talk. A nervous chuckle rippled through the bridge crew, breaking some of the tension. The Defiant might have been considered outdated by Nexer standards, a 20-year-old heavy cruiser with visible patch repairs and mismatched hull plates. But it was all that stood between the alien fleet and the Epsilon colony. 30,000 civilians waited on that rocky world below, evacuation ships still hours away from completion. "Status report," Chen demanded, moving to stand behind her tactical officer. Lieutenant K. Wong's fingers danced across her holographic interface. 11 Nexer destroyers, 1 command cruiser. Energy signatures suggest they're running hot, weapons charged and shields at maximum. They're spreading out into attack formation. "And our special package." Dr. Marcus Rivera looked up from his engineering station, dark circles under his eyes testament to the endless hours he'd spent preparing for this moment. "The quantum fold system is as ready as it's going to be, Captain. But I have to remind you, it's never been tested in actual combat. The simulations were promising, but—" "It'll work," Chen interrupted, her voice carrying absolute conviction. "It has to." The bridge fell silent as the crew watched the Nexer fleet advance. They all knew the stakes. The Dominion had been pushing deeper into human space for months, destroying any resistance with overwhelming force. Conventional weapons barely scratched their advanced shielding. The Defiant was supposed to be just another easy victory for them, a primitive vessel to be swatted aside and forgotten. But not today. "All hands, battle stations," Chen ordered, settling into her command chair. "Engineering, divert all non-essential power to the quantum fold. Tactical, target the lead destroyer with conventional weapons only. Make it look good, but don't waste too much energy. Communications, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies when I give the word." The crew acknowledged their orders as klaxons blared throughout the ship. Chen felt the subtle vibration through her chair as the Defiant's engines powered up, its old bones coming alive for perhaps their final battle. The first Nexer shots lanced out across space, deliberately wide, Chen noted. A warning, meant to frighten them into submission. She almost smiled again. The aliens' arrogance would be their undoing. "Return fire," she ordered. "Standard missile spread. Make them work a little to shoot them down." The Defiant shuddered as it launched its conventional arsenal. The Nexer ships swatted the missiles aside with contemptuous ease, their point defense systems creating brief, brilliant flowers of light in the void. "They're launching fighters," Wong reported. 3 squadrons, moving to surround us." Chen nodded, watching the tactical display as the news tightened. The Nexer were following their standard playbook, overwhelmed with superior numbers. Pin the target in place, then destroy it at their leisure. They'd used the same tactics at a dozen other colonies. "Engineering," she called out. "Status of the quantum fold." "Charged and ready," Rivera replied, his voice steady despite the sweat visible on his brow. "But Captain, the moment we activate it, there's no going back. The power requirements. We'll burn out half our systems, I know," Chen finished. But we only needed to work once. The Nexer fighters were close now, their energy weapons beginning to pepper the Defiant's shields with warning shots. The main fleet had stopped just outside maximum weapons range, no doubt preparing to savor their victory. "They're hailing us again," Rivera reported. "Put them through." The artificial voice returned, now tinged with what almost sounded like amusement. "Your display of courage, while futile, has been noted. The Dominion may consider sparing your crew for study if you surrender immediately, continue to resist, and—" "Actually," Chen interrupted, allowing steel to enter her voice, "I have a counteroffer." She nodded to Rivera. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Channel open." Chen stood, facing the main view screen where she knew the Nexer commander would be watching. "To the Nexer fleet, you believe your technology makes you invincible. You think this old ship is obsolete, its crew primitive, and beneath your notice. That's the problem with supposed superiority. It blinds you to innovation." She paused, watching as the fighters drew closer, their formation perfect and precise, everything according to plan. "Allow me to educate you, Dr. Rivera." "Quantum fold engaging," Rivera announced, his fingers flying across his console, field expanding. Now. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself appeared to ripple around the Defiant, like heat waves rising from sun-baked metal. The ripple expanded outward, passing through the fighter screen as if they weren't there. On the tactical display, the red dots representing the Nexer fighters simply vanished. "By the stars," Wong whispered. "It worked. They're just gone." The quantum fold field continued to expand, racing toward the main Nexer fleet. Their ships began to turn, finally realizing the danger, but they were too late. The ripple passed through their formation, and one by one, they disappeared, not destroyed, but erased, their very atoms scattered across dimensional boundaries. In less than 30 seconds, the entire Nexer fleet had ceased to exist. Warning lights flashed across every console as the Defiant systems struggled with the aftermath. Smoke poured from overloaded circuits, and the lights flickered ominously. "Engineering report," Chen demanded, holding onto her chair as the ship shuddered. "Main power failing," Rivera called back. "Quantum fold core is burnt out, just like we predicted. We've got maybe 10 minutes of emergency power, and half our systems are fried." Chen nodded, then opened a channel to the colony below. "Epsilon Control, this is UES Defiant. The Nexer fleet has been eliminated. I say again, threat eliminated. Please send whatever repair ships you can spare." She paused, allowing herself a small smile. "And you might want to contact Earth Command. Tell them the quantum fold weapon works exactly as designed. The Nexer aren't invincible anymore." As her crew began damage control procedures around her, Chen sank back into her chair, exhaustion finally catching up with her. They'd done it, proved that humanity's so-called primitive technology could match and exceed the Nexer's centuries of advancement. The Dominion would return, of course, probably with an even larger fleet. But now they would come with fear in their hearts, knowing that somewhere out there, more ships like the Defiant were waiting. Humanity, it seemed, still had a few surprises left to show the galaxy. The hidden advantage. Repair drones swarmed around the Defiant's hull, their welding arcs casting brief flashes of light against the darkness of space. Inside the ship's engineering bay, Dr. Marcus Rivera stood before a holographic display of the quantum fold core, its complex geometries now dark and lifeless. 3 days had passed since their victory over the Nexer fleet, but the cost of that triumph was still being calculated. "The containment matrix is completely fused," he explained to Captain Chen, who stood beside him with arms crossed. "We knew this would happen, but seeing it up close," he gestured to the scared and twisted metal. "It's like it tried to fold itself out of existence." Chen studied the damage with a grim expression. "How long to rebuild it? That's the problem." Rivera brought up another hologram, This one showing energy calculations that scrolled past almost too fast to read. The quantum fold worked better than we could have hoped. It didn't just destroy the Nexer ships, it erased them from existence. But the power requirements. He shook his head. We'd need 3 times the containment capacity to make it safely repeatable. The Nexar won't give us time for that. Chen's voice was tight with tension. Intelligence reports suggest they're already gathering a response fleet. Bigger this time, with upgraded shields they think will protect them from the quantum fold effect. Rivera laughed without humor. They still don't understand what they're dealing with, do they? Shields are useless against dimensional manipulation. You can't block something that makes space itself forget you exist. Their conversation was interrupted by a priority alert from the bridge. Lieutenant Wong's voice crackled through the intercom. "Captain, we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching the colony. Configuration matches Earth Defense Force vessels." "About time," Chen muttered. "I'll be right there." The bridge was a hive of activity when Chen arrived, her crew tracking the approaching ships with practiced efficiency. The main display showed 5 vessels emerging from hyperspace, 3 cruisers and 2 support ships, all bearing the distinctive angular design of Earth's latest warships. "They're hailing us," Rivera reported from his station. "Admiral Harrison commanding." Chen straightened her uniform. On screen, the weathered face of Admiral James Harrison filled the display, his expression a mixture of disbelief and cautious hope. "Captain Chen, I've read your report 3 times, and I'm still not sure I believe it. An entire Nexer battle fleet, just gone." "Confirmed, Admiral. We have sensor logs of the entire engagement. Dr. Rivera's quantum fold technology worked exactly as theorized." Harrison's eyes narrowed. "And the cost?" "Extensive damage to ship systems, complete burnout of the quantum fold core," Chen reported. "We'll need significant repairs before we're combat ready again." "You'll get them." Harrison leaned forward. "Because we need the Defiant back in action as soon as possible. The Nexar aren't just gathering a response fleet, they're mobilizing everything they have. Our long-range scouts report at least 30 capital ships moving toward human space." A tense silence fell over the bridge. 30 ships, more than twice the size of the fleet they just faced. "They're scared," Rivera said suddenly, drawing surprised looks from the others. "Think about it. We just proved their technological superiority isn't absolute. They have to crush us now, before other species under their control start getting ideas." Harrison nodded. "Exactly. Which is why Earth Command has authorized Project Quantum Angel. We're going to upgrade every ship we can with quantum fold technology. Dr. Rivera, your research data is now the most valuable asset in human space." Rivera paled slightly. "Admiral, with respect, we still don't fully understand the theoretical principles involved. The power requirements alone are a problem we need to solve quickly," Harrison interrupted. "Because the Nexer will reach our borders in less than 2 weeks. Captain Chen, how soon can the Defiant be ready for combat?" Chen glanced at Rivera, who was already running calculations on his tablet. "The conventional systems we can repair in 3 days," she said, "but the quantum fold, 5 days minimum," Rivera finished. "And that's assuming we can salvage enough of the original containment matrix to rebuild it. But Admiral, even if we succeed, we can only use it once before burning out again. Against 30 ships. We'll only need to use it once." Chen interrupted, her mind racing with possibilities. "Admiral, I have an idea. The Nexer are coming in force because they think numbers will protect them. But what if we could turn their own fleet against them?" Harrison's eyebrows rose. "Explain." Chen moved to the tactical display, bringing up a simulation of the quantum fold effect. "The field doesn't just erase matter. It creates a cascading dimensional disruption. If we could modify the effect, make it more selective." She looked at Rivera. "Could we program it to target specific quantum signatures?" Rivera's eyes widened as he caught her meaning. "They're quantum-linked targeting systems. Every Nexer ship uses them to coordinate fleet actions. If we could isolate that frequency. His fingers flew across his console. Yes, it might work. Instead of erasing their ships, we could fold their targeting systems into each other, create a feedback loop. That would tear their fleet apart from the inside. Harrison finished, a slow smile spreading across his face. They'd do our work for us. It's theoretical, Rivera cautioned. We'd need to test it, and there's no guarantee. Make it happen, Harrison ordered. I'll have our best engineers shuttled over to assist. Captain Chen, you'll coordinate with the defense fleet to buy us whatever time you can. Dismissed. As the Admiral's image faded, Chen turned to her crew. Their faces showed a mixture of fear and determination. They all understood the stakes. Humanity's survival would depend on whether they could turn a half-understood technology into a weapon capable of defeating the most powerful fleet the Nexer had ever assembled. Well, Rivera said quietly, already pulling up design schematics. At least they're not laughing at us anymore. Chen allowed herself a grim smile. No, now they're afraid. And they should be. Breaking point. Power levels are critical. Lieutenant Wong's voice cut through the chaos on the Defiance bridge as another Nexer blast rocked the ship, shields failing on decks 3 through 7. Captain Chen gripped her command chair as the deck shuddered beneath her feet. Through the main viewport, she watched 3 Nexer scout ships dart past, their energy weapons carving glowing trails through space. The enemy had been probing their defenses for hours, testing the Defiance capabilities while the main fleet gathered in the distance. Status of the quantum fold modifications, she demanded, eyes fixed on the tactical display where dozens of red dots marked the approaching Nexer Armada. Dr. Rivera's voice crackled through the comm, strained but determined. We're at 90% integration, but the new targeting system is still unstable. Every time we think we've isolated their quantum frequency, they shift to a new one. They're learning, Chen muttered. The Nexer weren't just bringing overwhelming force. They were adapting, changing their tactics to counter the weapon that had destroyed their previous fleet. How much longer do you need? 2 hours, minimum. Maybe 3. Another blast rocked the ship. We don't have 3 hours, Chen replied, watching as more scout ships emerged from hyperspace. Lieutenant Rivera, what's the status of the rest of the defense fleet? The Hyperion and Valiant are holding position at the colony's L2 point, Rivera reported from his communication station. The rest are spread thin, covering evacuation routes. We're getting reports of Nexer ships hitting multiple colonies now. They're trying to divide our forces. Chen's jaw tightened. The enemy's strategy was becoming clear. Pin down Earth's defenders while their main fleet gathered overwhelming strength. They wouldn't underestimate human technology again. New contacts. Wong called out. 5 heavy cruisers just dropped out of hyperspace. They're launching fighters. All hands. Battle stations. Chen ordered, her voice steady despite the growing tension. Tactical. Target the nearest cruiser with conventional weapons. Engineering. Divert all non-essential power to shields. We need to buy Dr. Rivera more time. The Defiance engines flared as it turned to face the new threat. Its rail guns opened up, filling space with hypervelocity rounds that splashed harmlessly against the Nexer ship's advanced shielding. The aliens returned fire, their energy weapons much more effective. Direct hit on Deck 4. Wong reported as the ship shuddered violently. Hull breach contained, but we're losing power to the starboard weapons array. Captain, Rivera called from engineering. I think I know why we can't lock onto their quantum frequency. Look at this. A diagram appeared on Chen's personal display, showing complex wave patterns. They're not just changing frequencies, they're using a rotating encryption key. Each ship's targeting system syncs with the others using a different pattern every few seconds. Chen frowned. Can we break the encryption? Maybe, but it would take too long. Unless, Rivera's voice trailed off, and Chen could practically hear his mind racing. What if we don't need to break it? What if we could use their own encryption against them? Explain. The quantum fold doesn't just erase matter. It creates a dimensional cascade effect. If we could match our field oscillation to their encryption cycle, we might be able to trigger a resonance pattern, like pushing a swing at just the right moment to make it go higher. Another blast rocked the ship before Chen could respond. "Shields critical," Wang shouted. "We can't take much more of this." Chen made her decision. "Do it." "How long?" 20 minutes to reconfigure the field emitters. "But Captain, this is completely theoretical. If I'm wrong." "If you're wrong, we're dead anyway," Chen interrupted. "Make it happen." She switched to the fleet channel. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. Fall back to secondary defensive positions. Draw their scouts away from the Defiant. We need 20 minutes. Acknowledgments came in from the other ships as they began to move, creating a gap in the defensive line. The Nexer cruisers pressed forward, sensing weakness, their fighters swarming through space like angry insects. "They're launching boarding pods," Wang reported. "Multiple targets, heading for our hull breaches." "Security teams to all breach points," Chen ordered. "Engineering, seal all compartments. If they want to take this ship, make them fight for every meter." She turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant, plot me a course through their formation. If we're going to do this, we need to be in the middle of their fleet when the quantum fold activates." The next 15 minutes were chaos. The Defiant's corridors echoed with weapons fire as security teams engaged Nexer boarding parties. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, containing hull breaches, but also trapping crew members in damaged sections. Through it all, Rivera worked frantically in engineering, reconfiguring systems that were never meant to interface with alien technology. "Captain," he called finally, his voice hoarse with exhaustion, "Quantum fold is ready. But you need to know, the power requirements for this are even higher than before. Once we activate it, we'll have maybe 30 seconds before complete system failure." Chen watched as more Nexer ships emerged from hyperspace, their main fleet finally arriving in full force. 30 capital ships, just as intelligence had predicted, their weapons charged and ready to erase humanity's last defense. "Status of the fleet encryption?" she asked. "They're still using the rotating key. If my calculations are right, the quantum fold will create a cascading resonance through their entire targeting network." "But Captain," Rivera paused, "we'll have to get much closer than last time, almost inside their formation." Chen nodded, her decision already made. "Plot an attack course, maximum thrust. All hands, prepare for combat maneuvers." She opened a channel to the entire ship. "This is the captain. In about 2 minutes, we're either going to make history or become part of it. Either way, I want you to know, what we do here today will be remembered. The Nexer thought they could break us, thought their technology made them invincible. Let's show them how wrong they were." The Defiant's engines ignited, pushing the battered ship forward into the heart of the enemy fleet. Nexer weapons fire filled space around them, some shots penetrating their failing shields to slash across the hull. But still they pressed on, diving deeper into the formation. "Multiple targeting locks," Wang shouted. "They're surrounding us." "Hold course," Chen ordered, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. "Dr. Rivera, on my mark." The Nexer ships loomed closer, their massive forms filling the viewport as they moved to encircle the Defiant. Chen waited, counting the seconds, watching as the enemy prepared to deliver their killing blow. Now, turning the tide. Space itself seemed to shudder as the quantum fold field activated, rippling outward from the Defiant in waves of distorted reality. But this time, something was different. Instead of erasing the Nexer ships from existence, the field resonated with their quantum-linked targeting systems, creating a cascade of energy that danced between vessels like lightning. "It's working," Rivera shouted over the groaning of overstressed systems. "Their targeting network is feeding back on itself." Chen watched in amazement as the nearest Nexer ships began to turn, their weapons firing wildly into space and into each other. The quantum resonance had corrupted their targeting systems, transforming their precisely coordinated fleet into chaos. Energy beams meant for the Defiant instead struck their own vessels, shields flaring and failing under friendly fire. Multiple detonations detected, Wang reported, her voice barely audible over the sound of the Defiant's straining engines. Their command and control systems are completely compromised. The bridge viewport showed the incredible sight of the mighty Nexar fleet tearing itself apart. Ships that had fought in perfect coordination moments ago now fired blindly, their targeting computers unable to distinguish friend from foe. Escape pods launched from damaged vessels, scattering in all directions as their crews abandoned ship. Power core reaching critical levels. Rivera warned from engineering. The quantum fold is drawing more energy than we predicted. We have maybe 20 seconds before total system failure. Chen keyed the fleet-wide channel. All Earth Defense Forces, this is the Defiant. The Nexar fleet is compromised. Engage at will. Target any ships still capable of returning fire. The human fleet responded immediately. The Hyperion and Valiant swept in from opposite flanks, their weapons blazing as they struck at the scattered enemy vessels. More Earth ships emerged from hyperspace, reinforcements arriving just in time to join the battle. 15 seconds to core breach, Rivera reported, his voice tight with strain. Get us out of here, Chen ordered. Emergency thrust, any direction. The Defiant's engines screamed as they pushed the wounded ship away from the chaos at its heart. Behind them, the quantum resonance continued to spread through the Nexar fleet, corrupting systems and turning their superior technology against them. 10 seconds. A massive explosion lit up space as one of the Nexar capital ships lost containment, its reactor going critical. The shockwave slammed into the Defiant, sending it tumbling through space. Stabilizers offline, Wang shouted. We're losing power to all decks. 5 seconds. Chen gripped her chair as emergency lights flashed throughout the bridge. All hands, brace for impact. The quantum fold core finally gave out with a sound like reality itself tearing apart. Every system on the Defiant went dark at once, leaving them drifting in space. Emergency power kicked in seconds later, restoring minimal life support and artificial gravity. Damage report, Chen called out, pulling herself back to her feet. Main power is gone, Rivera responded, his voice weak but triumphant. The quantum fold core is completely destroyed. We won't be using that trick again. But Captain, you need to see this. The main viewport flickered back to life, powered by auxiliary systems, and Chen felt her breath catch. The Nexar fleet, what was left of it, was in full retreat. At least half their ships had been destroyed, either by their own weapons or by the human counterattack. The rest were jumping to hyperspace in ones and twos, fleeing in disorder. They're running, Wang whispered, disbelief clear in her voice. We actually did it. Priority transmission from Admiral Harrison, Rivera announced. Text only. Our comm systems are barely functioning. Chen read the message on her flickering display. Confirmed kills on 18 Nexar capital ships. Rest in full retreat. Similar reports coming in from other sectors. They're pulling back across all fronts. Whatever you did, Captain, it worked. The Nexar aren't invincible anymore. Well done. A ragged cheer went up from the bridge crew, quickly spreading throughout the ship as the news traveled. They had done the impossible, proved that humanity's primitive technology, combined with innovation and desperate courage, could defeat even the most advanced alien fleet. But Chen's celebration was short-lived. As repair ships moved to assist the crippled Defiant, her tactical display showed something troubling. A single massive energy signature, larger than anything they'd seen before, appearing at the edge of sensor range. Captain, Wang called out, her voice suddenly tense again. New contact. It's huge. Chen studied the readings with growing concern. The Nexar flagship. They're sending their best to finish what the fleet couldn't do. The massive vessel emerged from hyperspace like a metal leviathan, its hull gleaming with weapons unlike anything they'd seen before. And the Defiant, their ace in the hole, was powerless to stop it. "Orders, Captain," Rivera asked quietly. Chen straightened in her chair, mind already racing with possibilities. The quantum fold was gone, but that didn't mean they were out of options. Humanity had proven its worth today, proven that determination and ingenuity could overcome any technological advantage. "Get me a channel to Admiral Harrison," she said. "And Dr. Rivera, start thinking about what other primitive solutions we might have overlooked. I have a feeling we're not done surprising the Nexer just yet." Victory's price. The Nexer flagship dominated the viewport, its crystalline hull reflecting starlight like a massive diamond suspended in space. Nearly 3 kilometers long, the vessel dwarfed even the largest human ships. Energy readings from its weapons systems were off the scale, and its shields incorporated technology far beyond anything the Defiant's sensors could analyze. "Well," Dr. Rivera said, studying the readings from his jury-rigged engineering station, "they certainly brought out their best this time." Captain Chen stood at the center of her bridge, watching as repair crews worked frantically to restore the Defiant's systems. The quantum fold core was beyond salvation, its revolutionary technology now just so much fused metal and crystalline debris. But they had other weapons, other options, if only they could figure out how to use them. "What's the status of the fleet?" she asked. Lieutenant Wang consulted her tactical display. "The Hyperion and Valiant are moving to support us, along with 3 other heavy cruisers. But half our ships are still engaged with Nexer remnants in other sectors. We're on our own for at least 30 minutes. "The flagship is hailing us," Rivera reported. "Full spectrum broadcast." Chen nodded. "Let's hear what they have to say." The bridge speakers crackled to life, but instead of the artificial translator voice they'd come to expect, this was different. Deeper, more organic, yet still unmistakably alien. "I am High Commander Vexthor of the Nexer Dominion. You have impressed us, humans. Your primitive vessel has accomplished what none thought possible. But this ends now." "High Commander," Chen responded, keeping her voice steady. "Your fleet is in ruins, your forces scattered. Stand down, and we can discuss terms." A sound like grinding crystal came through the speakers. Alien laughter. "Terms? You still don't understand. What you destroyed was merely an expeditionary force. The true might of the Dominion remains untouched. I am here not to negotiate, but to demonstrate the price of defiance." The flagship's weapons began to power up, energy readings climbing beyond anything their sensors could measure. Chen turned to Rivera. "Tell me you have something." The engineer's fingers flew across his console. "Maybe." When the quantum fold collapsed, it left behind a unique energy signature in our drive core. "We can't generate another fold effect, but—" He looked up, eyes bright with possibility. "What if we don't need to? What if we could use that residual energy to disrupt their shields instead?" "Their shields are based on quantum mechanics," Wang interjected. "If we could match the frequency, we'd create a localized weakness," Rivera finished. "But Captain, we'd need to get incredibly close, point-blank range. And even then, we'd only have one shot before the energy dissipates." Chen watched as the flagship launched fighters, sleek, crystalline vessels that moved with impossible grace. "How close?" "Less than a kilometer. Practically suicide range." "They're targeting our colony networks," Wang reported suddenly. "Energy buildup suggests their main weapon could destroy multiple settlements with a single shot." Chen's decision crystallized. Plot an intercept course. All power to engines and forward shields. She opened a channel to the rest of the human fleet. "This is Captain Chen. The Defiant will engage the flagship. When you see an opening, hit them with everything you have." The Defiant's engines flared to life, pushing the wounded ship forward. Nexer fighters swooped in, their energy weapons carving glowing trails through space, but the human vessel pressed on, ignoring the hits to its weakened shields. "They're powering up their main gun," Wang shouted. Target lock on the Epsilon colony. Divert all remaining power to engines, Chen ordered. Ram speed. The Defiant surged forward, its hull groaning under the acceleration. Nexar fighters scattered as the human ship barreled through their formation, heading straight for the flagship's gleaming hull. Impact in 30 seconds. Rivera called out. Energy signature is building. But Captain, at this speed, even if we succeed. Chen nodded grimly. I know. All hands, prepare for emergency protocols. Launch all escape pods on my mark. The flagship's massive weapon began to glow, preparing to unleash devastation on the helpless colonies below. But the Defiant had crossed the distance, drawing closer and closer to the crystalline hull. 20 seconds. Target their main gun, Chen ordered. Every conventional weapon we have left, fire as we pass. The Defiant's remaining railguns opened up, hypervelocity rounds splashing harmlessly against the flagship's shields. But they weren't meant to do damage, only to draw attention. 10 seconds. Shield disruption ready. Chen took one last look at her bridge crew. Faces she'd served with, fought with, trusted with her life. Launch escape pods. It's been an honor. 5 seconds. The Defiant's hull screamed as it pushed to impossible speed, aimed directly at the flagship's main weapon. At the last possible moment, Rivera activated the disruption field. The residual quantum energy surged out, creating a momentary weakness in the Nexar shields, just as the human ship struck. The impact was catastrophic. The Defiant's reinforced prow crumpled like paper, but its momentum carried it through the weakened shields and into the flagship's crystal hull. Metal and alien alloys shattered, and the flagship's weapon overloaded in a cascade of uncontrolled energy. The resulting explosion lit up space like a newborn sun. When it faded, the massive flagship was spinning away, its hull torn open, its main weapon destroyed. Escape pods from both ships dotted the void, and the remaining human vessels moved in, weapons blazing as they struck at the wounded giant. In her escape pod, Chen watched through the small viewport as the combined fire of Earth's fleet finally broke through the flagship's weakened defenses. Secondary explosions chained through its crystal hull, and the mighty vessel began to break apart. Her comm system crackled. Captain, Rivera's voice from another pod. Did we just ram a quantum-disrupted drive core into the most advanced alien warship in the galaxy? Yes, Doctor, Chen replied, allowing herself a small smile. I believe we did. The Nexar are retreating across all sectors. Wam's voice joined in. Long-range sensors show their remaining forces jumping to hyperspace. They're running. Chen watched as the last pieces of her ship, the proud Defiant, drifted among the debris of their fallen enemy. They had lost their greatest weapon, sacrificed their ship, but they had proven something far more important, that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or firepower, but the willingness to do whatever it took to survive. They'll be back, she said quietly. But next time, they'll remember this day. They'll remember that humans don't bow to superior force. We innovate, we adapt, and we never, ever give up. As rescue ships moved to collect the scattered escape pods, Chen could already see the future unfolding. The Nexar would return, yes, but humanity would be ready. They would rebuild the Defiant, improve the quantum-fold technology, find new ways to fight back. Because that's what humans did best, turn defeat into victory, weakness into strength, and make the impossible possible. The stars stretched out before them, infinite in their possibility, and for the first time since the Nexar invasion began, the future looked bright.